It's quite common that things break and applications go down. What if we want to design a system whose downtime is no more than 1 minute per year? Is that a lot or is that too little? Well, we don't really know because we don't know what to compare it to or what's the downtime of other large scale systems. But what if you knew that Google was reported to be down for 6 hours in 2020? Now suddenly our number looks like a really big challenge as far as downtimes go. So now we can make some actually realistic estimations for our system's downtime. Now don't get me wrong, you don't need to know facts like these to estimate efficiently, but just getting an idea of how much time some things take could be really helpful, both for an interview as well as for your career in software industry. So let's start with one of the most important parameter to consider while designing a system, which is throughput. Let me explain this weird table. One instance of RDBMS can handle 10,000 read requests in a second. Now an interviewer does not expect you to know this number, but guessing a number like 15,000 requests is also fine. However, if you're suggesting that RDBMS can handle 100,000 requests per second, then you know that you're way off your calculations. The focus is on an acceptable number, not the precise number. Similarly, since the cache keeps data in memory and doesn't persist data to disk, you would at least be expected to know that the throughput of database is less than that of a distributed cache. So getting an idea of throughput of various databases would help you make smart estimations. Now for database storage, we can buy a more storage DB and say that it has more capacity than a cache. But a system design is not about something whose answer is simply paying more. So these are the numbers you can refer to, which tells some idea like distributed cache would have much more capacity than a relational database. For NoSQL though, the answer varies a lot because of sharding and consistent hashing. So you can get away with just explaining how they are unlimited. Latency is one of the most important factors to consider while designing a large-scale system. These are some of the numbers I refer to. In fact, the round-trip latency is something that you would want to evaluate even in your day-to-day life if you're developing a backend service from scratch. Now, you don't need to remember these numbers specifically, but the order of latency is something that an interviewer would expect you to know. For example, accessing CPU cache takes less time than accessing memory, followed by disk, CDN, your local internet, and finally the global internet. Another very important conversion to remember is number system. It may be quite basic for you, but sometimes even the most experienced people often get confused with these conversions. So I would suggest you to remember this thoroughly, and they would be really helpful in both an interview and your day-to-day job. The storage conversion. These are the most important conversions in the list, and again, these are something that the most experienced professionals keep getting confused with. So you would want to remember these thoroughly. There are a lot of units than these, but it is quite unlikely that you would need to use units beyond petabytes. So these should be sufficient. And lastly, we would want to remember some basic population numbers. While estimating the users of our application, we would often need a baseline to compare it to. And these three numbers often come in quite handy.